taught you to hate the color of your skin? Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? So much so that you don't want to be around each other. No, before you come asking Mr. Muhammad, does he teach hate? You should ask yourself, who taught you to hate being what God gave you?
Most of us blacks, or Negroes as he called us, really thought we were free without being aware that in our subconscious, all those chains we thought had been struck off were still there. And there were many ways where what really motivated us was our desire to be loved by the white man. Malcolm meant to lance that sense of inferiority. He knew it would be painful. He knew that people could kill you because of it, but he dared to take that risk.
He was saying something over and above that of any other leader of that day, while the other leaders were begging for entry into the house of their oppressor. He was telling you to build your own house.
Welcome to the Gilchrist Experience. Today's guest is newly elected Judge Michelle Sweeney, a native Harlemite. Welcome to the show, Judge.
Thank you.
This is fabulous. I love seeing you here.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, this is beautiful. Well, tell us about your early beginnings. How does this impress you, Malcolm in the 60s? I mean, I'm sure you weren't born yet, but all right.
Well, the great thing is that a lot of Harlem's history has been preserved.
Right.
I grew up in the Polo Ground houses, which then was called 8th Avenue, now Frederick Douglass Boulevard.
Right. Okay.
And I'm proud to say I live on Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Boulevard presently.
Right.
So between those two avenues, just one avenue over, is none other than Malcolm X Boulevard, formerly Lenox Avenue. So the history has been preserved, and you can simply walk the streets of Harlem, see the names of the streets, and that resonates with the history, taking the time to reflect on our ancestors and the movement that they've been involved in and all that they've done so that someone like me can go, as you've indicated, to the bench. I think that that's just fascinating.
Yeah, a classic example of what you can accomplish with a good insight on how do you stay focused in that environment? How does one really, well, I think it's harder during your day to stay centered and focused. Well, give us an idea of how you survive.
I think that we all know the adage, it takes a village to raise a child.
Right, okay.
But I think what's critically important is consulting the villagers, and that is the people who have come before me. I've taken the time to sit by their feet.
Okay.
Whether it's the living legends, such as none other than our congressmen. We've had in Harlem the same congressman, none other than Congressman Charles Rangels for my lifetime. He's there, has been there to listen to his stories, to see the twinkle of pride in his eye. Whether you agree with him politically or not, the fact that he's a historical figure who's walked the streets of Harlem, continues to walk the streets of Harlem, knows the pulse of the community, and that he's made himself available for people like me to say, what has happened in the past? How can I make that future brighter for someone, for the community? Taking the time to really listen to the villagers, listen to the elders, and to take their advice, run with it, be the pride that they've dreamed of. I think that that's how you get energized. That's the source of my strength. I come from a great family. My father came to this country from the Bahamas on a Pan Am airline, which is no longer around. My mother,
first class.
Yes, born and raised on 145th Street in Harlem. So great household, discipline.
How far back does that go?
Which one?
When he first came to America.
Now you're asking me to age them both, right? Well, my dad passed away recently in March of this year, but he came to Harlem in the 1960s.
Okay.
That not
Doing
being his
Malcolm
first
there.
time.
Okay.
Right. He met my mom in the Bahamas.
Okay.
And my mother's father, my grandfather, owned a bakery in Harlem, Trelawney Bakery, on 145th Street.
You kidding?
That's my
Oh, I
grandfather.
used to go there after the pool from Colonial
Absolutely.
Park. Do you get that bakery there?
Yes.
Oh, man. Oh,
Yes,
my
with the
goodness.
beef patties and the rock
Are you
cakes. That was
kidding?
my grandfather.
Oh,
Yes.
Oh, that's funny.
So again, the legacy of
that was
Harlem
the
is in
best.
me. Yes.
You know, I was raised on 147th Street in Amsterdam.
So you and my mama must be friends.
That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to figure out. Really? Yeah, well, we live in the same complex. That's when I got it. So my wife and your mother know each other very well.
Yes.
So that's amazing. But I never realized, oh, that was the best place in the world. Are you kidding? Oh, I used to love that place.
Yes.
I used to come out of Colonial Pool when I was like 11. And, oh, that was...
Next
stop
to
there for
Sammy
the-
K's supermarket
Yeah.
in the barber shop. Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
My mom attended PS 90, which is now a condo in Harlem. So right before its
Where was
occupants.
PS 90?
PS 90 is right on 148th Street between 7th or Adam Clayton Powell and Frederick Douglass Boulevard. Yes.
148. Okay.
Yes, that
All
was
right.
renovated
Yeah,
recently to a
I
condo.
remember that. Okay. Oh, that's fabulous.
Yes.
Oh, we're more homey than I thought. Oh, that's unreal.
So we've changed the rule. It's now half a degree of separation. Huh?
Quarter, what I can see. We're distant cousins. I mean,
Absolutely.
goodness. Oh, that was a good environment, you know, especially that bakery. Boy, oh, I can't get over that place.
Yeah. So my
great.
mother used to always tell stories about how when she grew up, all of Harlem was occupied. And it was just so interesting to see my contemporary, one of my cousins, who's a few years younger than me, when my mother would tell us stories about how she had neighbors and all of 8th Avenue was fully occupied, and my younger cousins would scratch their heads and say, Auntie, I don't think it will ever happen again. I don't think it will ever be revitalized in my lifetime. And to see it now, back to really what it once was, if not even better, it's happened during our lifetimes, which is great.
Well, I was raised right there on 147th Street in Amsterdam. And if you came down to 145th Street in Convent, my aunt owned that building, 471 West 145th Street. Then you had a tailor shop right down. You step down a couple of flights right across the street from Common Avenue Baptist Church. And my father was the presser there. My aunt owned it. And Uncle Speed, he was a deacon over at Convent. So we were talking about Convent earlier and how Deacon Martin.
Calvin Martin was deacon there.
But that connection there with Common Avenue Baptist Church, I first started going there when I was on my mother's knee in 42.
And it's
when
still
they came
there.
up the hill. So, I mean, there's a whole...
And that's another point that you mentioned, just the church history as well.
Yeah.
The religious community, notwithstanding whatever your religion might be, our houses of worship have been really cornerstones for preserving the history and the culture of Harlem, whether it's the architecture, Ephesus, a Seventh-day Adventist church in Harlem, whether it's, of course, my church, Bethany Baptist Church on 153rd Street in Frederick Douglass Boulevard, between there and Bradhurst Avenue. Our church is 82 years old, very great institution. It's the northernmost church in central Harlem, just before you reach the Polo Ground houses. So I think that our religious institutions have played a critical role in preserving Harlem's history, whether it's the oral history, the history of repeating what's been passed down. You learn that either through a hymn or a sermon, or just talking to your fellow parishioner is part of that protecting and preserving the history and the culture.
So is that what kept you out of trouble, being a church girl?
Now you want me to tell you my secrets? My brother has passed away 10 years ago. He was 2 years older than me, and a sister who is Elizabeth. She's 4 years older than me, and I'm not going to tell you her age either. But that's because she would be upset with me, but she's a wonderful, wonderful sister. I've learned vicariously through them In other words, my sister, being the eldest, would touch the stove and get burned. I didn't need to touch the stove because I saw her reaction to what happened. So I've lived vicariously through their experiences. I've learned from their experiences. They paved the way ahead of me. So some of the mistakes that they may have made, I was protected from it because I learned from their experiences. So I think, but it hasn't been a crystal stair, as they say. There's been a number of obstacles, ups and downs, failures, disappointments, just as anyone else. But I think what's most important is having the courage to get back up, do it all over again, try it a new way, open a different door, is what keeps me going.
You're so serious when you answer some of these questions at NAN. I mean, legal night. It's just so wonderful to watch you in that different role. And you're stern and very official. I mean, I can see why you're a judge. It's phenomenal. You know, people don't get to see a person like you, and they see the one position that you're in. And they don't understand there's a beautiful human behind the whole scene.
Well, thank you.
Oh, it's quite obvious to everybody that's watching.
Well, legal night is so important.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to introduce the last session at legal night.
Oh.
When you had something to say about Michael Hardy. And Michael Hardy is on Skype in, but he was sort of tied up today. But would you run that second roll in, and we'll come right back at you. All right? Thank you. Wait till you watch this.
Give that information to Arthur right there. He'll make sure that our Core Patrol gets that information. All right. All right.
While everyone is standing, if you can remain in your positions, those who are seated, if you can stand on your feet. We want to thank Attorney Michael Hardy for the 4 years of legal night. He fought on it. He executed it. He does this. They said legal night has been going for 4 years, and while we're taking a hiatus for the upcoming months, he does this 365 days of the year. Without break, without compensation. He does it with a level of excellence, and he does it from his heart. There are those of us who will be able to sit behind a bench because he keeps his boots on, he keeps marching, he keeps fighting, he keeps advocating, he keeps speaking up, he keeps speaking the word, he does it, he does it, he does it. So we want to thank him. Thank him. Thank him. Thank him for what he does.
You know, I think that's one of the greatest things we do at the network. I mean, I've been enjoying legal night for so long now. It's just, I mean, people actually get to talk to lawyers. And now Judge Sweeney, I mean, she was just elected judge yesterday. I mean, we've got a judge sitting here, right?
Thank you.
And she helps the people. It's just so wonderful. I mean, to see how the 4 years that I've been watching you, I mean, it's just a blessing.
Well, legal night is so important. It's exactly what you said. It's direct access.
Yeah.
And again, Attorney Hardy, the commitment, it's really indescribable what he does. He has a level of temperament. His knowledge of the law is vast.
Everybody says that about him.
You can know the law, but not know how to convey it to people who are non-attorneys, or even if they're attorneys, in a way that's persuasive but not overreaching, in a way that's comprehensive, in a way that leaves people with a level of hope. Even in some cases you've seen in legal night where the statute of limitations has passed. It's passed.
Right.
But still, he will say, well, let's explore other angles. Let's look at other routes. Let's look at some way to leave that person whole.
Yeah.
To, when they leave there, they can say, I've been heard. It's been fully vetted. Someone cares enough
to listen,
to research it and to listen. That's what he does. And I've seen him in venues outside of legal night, where just recently the National Bar Association, under the leadership of its new president, Pamela Means, they had a legal outreach to the community at Menacing Townhouses, which is just a stone throw away from the House of Justice. His ability to navigate the room, really get the pulse of the community, and to bridge that divide between the community and the attorneys. While the attorneys want to help the community and the community needs the help of the attorneys, they don't oftentimes speak the same language. His ability to comprehensively speak in a way that married the passion with the purpose, with the principles of the law, is really incredible. It's a gift.
And you get some nuts that come in there.
Well, we get some people who have had not so positive experiences perhaps with our system. And so who get excited in a way that they express themselves, and still even they don't bother him. They don't unnerve him. They leave there having been heard. And that's really a natural gift of his. And we're really honored as a community as a whole to have someone like him and to have had this vision of legal night, and it's every last Thursday of the month, and you've seen it's filled in the rafters. Filled to the rafters, which should just give you some sense of how people, there were people who drive overnight just to get to the House of Justice because they've crossed state lines. No one has been able to address their concerns. No one wanted to hear their concerns, and they said, if only I can get through the door, if only I can get here, I can get an answer. I can get the ear of someone who will listen. That's a great thing. That's
what National Action Network has always meant to me, as a bastion of hope. It's church for me on Sunday, on Saturdays.
Oh yes.
I mean, Reverend Sharpton to me is a disciple of Martin Luther King.
And people want to be fed and taught how to feed themselves. And that's what happens on the Saturdays when they come in thirsting for information, just wanting to know what's happening in the community. How can I get involved? And how does it affect me? And it's conveyed in a way, again, that's comprehensive to the everyday person. And that's what it is. It's the power of everyday people. That's important.
Judge, what type of cases will be coming before you that you will rule over?
Well, as a civil court judge, I can be appointed to serve wherever the needs of the court are. In other words, I could be appointed to criminal court, I could be appointed to civil court, or I can be appointed to family court in any of the boroughs. So I don't yet know where I will be assigned, but I can assure you that whatever court that is, my background and experience lends to that, having worked in criminal, civil, and family, and that justice is what will prevail. It's a court that is open to having your cases fully adjudicated only after being fully heard, an opportunity to fully present your evidence. And so I'm not yet sure where I'll be assigned, but I can assure you justice will be dispensed equally and fairly with one tongue for the rich and for the poor and for each and everyone who comes into the courthouse.
I like that. Having been in the legal system for many years, I was speaking to some Supreme Court justices at a conference years ago, and I said, I've seen where people have been in court and people not properly or adequately defended from time to time, or there's something going on that really shouldn't. And I've seen judges just sit back as though, well, if his lawyer doesn't know what to do, that's his problem. But I see a judge as an impartial person, but someone who is also looking for fair play. If there is someone that needs help, if an attorney needs help, this is just me speaking as a layman, not as an attorney, but I think that a judge should intervene, because we've seen too many cases where people have wound up in prison unjustifiably. And when things or certain steps could have been taken or should have been taken, just so that truth is adjudicated, as opposed to the facts of the case, you know. And hearing you speak, coming to the bench, is also an inspiration for our people. There are a number of African American judges on the bench, even today here in New York. But to see another fresh face, one that understands the plight of the people, having been with Michael Hardy, who's been around for many years, working behind the scenes in a lot of cases, but to see you come in and declare not just your presence, but your dedication to the people who will be coming before you. I mean, if a person is wrong, they have to deal with the consequences of their actions. But to hear you speak, I was off camera listening from the beginning, you know, and the old days of Harlem and all that, and the restaurant. I've been to the bakery too.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, man, that,
Years ago when I worked uptown, you know, we used to go in there.
that was a place.
So-
There was a line outside.
Let me tell
Always
you.
a line.
I wish my
You
mom
know.
knew the recipe on how to make the meat patties.
You know, but great spots like that are missing, but you know, the lineage goes on. And you're bringing another breath of fresh life and air to the Harlem community and to the city of New York, you know, by being installed as a judge. And we look forward to many years of your presence on the bench. And,
Thank you.
and as you move up on the bench as well. Yeah.
Supreme Court in days to come.
I'm just on that first step. On that first step.
What we got?
And I think that while there may be talk of higher aspirations, it's important that you really savor the step that you're
Yeah,
on.
right. Today.
Make sure that you fully completed that step before you even aspire to another step. And I think what's important too is that people oftentimes think that moving up or moving higher means something bigger or better. Your greatest impact can oftentimes be made at a lower step. In other words, let me explain what I mean by that. Civil court is the people's court. The criminal court are what they consider the lower courts. The family court is considered the lower court. And so you think of Supreme Court as aspirational, but those are the courts where really the everyday person is most affected.
Right.
They have a housing issue. They have a civil issue. They have a small claims issue.
Right.
They have a low-level criminal issue, something that may not be supreme by way of the level of severity of the punishment or supreme by way of the dollar amount that's involved, but it's important to them. So when they talk about moving up to a higher level, the level that I'm at now is the level that allows me to make the greatest contribution to our court system.
Right.
And to the people who, for a large part, are disenfranchised because most of them do not have Supreme Court cases. They have lower level, everyday cases, and it's those cases that, because they are not properly or fully adjudicated, that oftentimes lead to a Supreme Court case. So if you have someone at the level of civil court, family court, criminal court, who can adjudicate those issues, resolve those issues, so that someone does not now have a docket full of criminal court cases, low-level offenses, or who does not now have a series of judgments against them in the civil court, and therefore it now escalates into something that warrants a Supreme Court case. That to me is making a huge difference, because it's saying at this stage in your life, before it accelerates, before it gets aggravated, let's see if we can address it.
Right.
If it's really a housing issue, let's try and address it. If it's really a occasional issue, let's try and address it. And you have at this level a level of discretion. Discretion is such a big thing. And oftentimes people are afraid to exercise it because of the consequences. To the extent that there is discretion, when you've come to the court with having done a legal night, and
Right,
you know
right.
what the background conversations are that people have, and you know what the real underlying issues might
So it
be.
really helps.
You can exercise the
Yeah.
discretion that you're not simply limited in situations that you've mentioned where you see a circumstance. Your experience should be a factor in that, where you can say, this is something, well, let's take a step back here. There's something else going on here because I know the neighborhood of Harlem
Right.
where this case may have
Yeah.
taken place. To have that discretion and exercise it fully and properly, that to me is what makes a great judge.
Yeah.
Someone who, again, even on the lower civil court, family court, and criminal court level, it's critically important because they make lifelong decisions that impact someone's life on a daily basis.
I mean, I've been in court and watched some of these ACS cases, and it drives me crazy to see what goes on in the family court. I mean, that is a madhouse. I mean, the way they're snatching kids, that's $1 billion industry, ACS. And it hurts me to my heart, I mean, to see how they just rip our families away and tear families apart. And the way they pit the mother against the father. I mean, we went through so many cases that it's heartbreaking. I mean,
Well, the agencies, as well as its representatives, whether it's a court-appointed attorney, they do great work. I just want to indicate that they do
Okay.
Herculean work with very minimal
that 1%.
resources. And there are cases, whether in a criminal case, civil case, or family court case, where what we would like to call exceptions rather than the rule. But we're all operating with very limited resources, very limited time, and can try to do the best that we can within those parameters. And so I do want to commend those who do take their jobs very seriously and are very passionate about and compassionate about the families, but the caseloads, as we know, are overwhelming. I know that the court is working toward, in civil cases, making available attorneys, because we have a number of people who are self-represented, which sometimes lead to cases moving through the system a lot slower than they probably would have if you had an attorney who has a lesser caseload as well. So that filtering of which cases should be in the system, that filtering and exercising of discretion, whether it's in an ACS case as to what decisions, which children should be removed. It's a combination. It's a work in progress. It's a work that needs most certainly more players. We often hear, I'm singing to the choir. Well, the choir needs more singers in all of these areas.
Very much so.
So it's a work in progress.
You know who we've got on the line? I think we're Skyping in June. Is that what the... June, are you there?
Technology.
This is our crisis director at National
yes, she's
Action
great.
Network. Which, do we have June? Bev? We have the Skype?
So you're so high tech. You're so high tech.
Coming up.
Hello?
Oh, there she
I
is.
hear a voice.
Hi, June.
I'm here. Yes, I'm sorry. The call dropped away. I don't even know.
You busy?
No, the call dropped. The call dropped.
Yeah, I'm back on.
Oh, okay.
Hi, everybody. Congratulations, Michelle Sweeney.
Well, thank you so much.
Yay. I finally get to say, here comes the judge. So happy. Oh, thank you very much for this time today, Mr. Gilchrist. And I'm very, like you guys, I'm very affected by what's going on with the ACS system. So God bless you, sister, for being in place and keeping an eye on things. But just really quickly for your audience there, Mr. Gilchrist, National Action Network, we are a community organization. We do a lot of things to try to help the community. Ergo, the reason why we do Legal Night, bringing such wonderful minds like Michelle Sweeney to come in and answer the questions of the neighborhood. And one of the things that we will be doing this Friday, November 7th, at 10 a.m. sharp, we're doing an orientation for Home Depot, because Home Depot will be hiring people for jobs.
Oh,
and
that's
jobs
good.
is something that is desperately needed in our community.
Good.
I find that Home Depot, they work with we're going to have deaf people here. They definitely work with a lot of different people to have them employed, and they pay a decent wage. So anybody who is interested in coming in and being a part of this, if they go online to careers.homedepot.com and apply for a job. They just come on in and we'll go through the whole thing that day, and they'll be able to sit down and meet with a hiring manager. So I appreciate you letting me have this time. If people have any questions or concerns, please call me, June like the month, Moses like the Bible, at 212-690-3070. And thank you both. Thank you all so very much for letting me share this time with you again. Congratulations, Michelle.
Thank
you can
you
see
so
me
much.
on the Skype. I'd be doing a happy dance for you.
What
I
happened?
love you guys.
Oh,
Have a
we
blessed
can't
day.
see the
Thank
Skype.
you.
Anything what happened to the Skype?
My Skype fell away. My computer is not my friend right now.
Oh,
It's all right. I'm going to walk her over now.
okay. All right.
All
Thank
right,
you,
y'all. Have a
June.
blessed day. Thank you.
All right.
June.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
As June has a tough job too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, my goodness. You know, National Action Network is the last stop for a lot of people. Just like like legal night. A lot of people. I remember we had these people up from upstate New York, and they came with the most. I could have swore it just came out of Money, Mississippi. You know, it was just terrible. So many of the problems that we're having with racism, and I just want to cover what I thought was a racist election last night.
Which one?
All of them, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I just thought it was all about the black guy in the White House. And I know you're not political, but you know, at least Graham and I can discuss and practice.
You want me to slide to the back?
But
We know you vote. We do know you vote.
I vote, absolutely.
But
Yes.
what happened was that I was so upset about the whole thing, and I said, "Poor Obama, so far, so on." And then at 3 o'clock, he came on television, Mr. Cool all the way, and I just felt so good. I mean, I just like the pastor had just come in and say, "God still exists," you know. And he was so. Didn't like there was just something off the shoulder there.
You were doing that little dance, dust your
it was
shoulder off. That's what you were just.
He's going to maintain his own integrity,
That's it.
regardless of what. In Kipling's poem, If you can keep your head while others are losing theirs and blaming it on you,
Yeah.
if you can walk with kings and still maintain the common touch, that's Obama. He is not going to jump and flip. He said very clearly, he'll work with anybody.
Right.
And if they don't want to work, it's for the people to see that. But he was very clear. I only caught part of the press conference, but
taped it.
he's still willing to work.
Right.
The people just have to have the common sense to see and understand what's going on.
Right.
And if they can't, then they have to bear the brunt of their choices. And
Right.
again, life is about choices. If you make the wrong choices, you suffer the consequences.
But it's a blatant disrespect for the man that I so.
I like to read his memoirs when this 8-year period is
And
over.
this Grimes, Mrs. Grimes, what's her first name? I forget her first name. But the way she wouldn't have owned up to voting for him, and she was a delegate. I mean, how much sense does that make? How do you dismiss your president? I
Well-
mean, I just couldn't understand it. But it
We've
shows the
seen it.
level. One thing, it shows the level of racism in this country.
The level of disrespect, if it's exhibited to the president, it's exhibited to everybody
Of course.
down line. We've seen it in the past week with Phil Banks at NYPD and his resignation. I've known Phil for decades. I know his father, his brothers. They run the Eagle Academy, one of the best schools in the city for young African American students. And the bottom line is that the position was a lesser position. It's like being the Queen of England. You have the position, but you're not ruling anything. You're not in a position of authority. And like Phil being a hands-on individual, first of all, he was not interviewed for the position. Commissioner
what
Bratton,
happened.
Commissioner
Explain.
Bratton interviewed a number of individuals for the first deputy commissioner's position. It's a civilian position in the police department. Phil Banks is not a civilian. He's a police officer.
Right.
And that position is normally filled by an individual, although it's the second in command. that spot is bypassed when command decisions are being made. They're made by the chief of the department, the chief of patrol, the commissioner. They bypass that first deputy commissioner's position. And Phil was not interested so much in getting a pay raise or having a higher title. He's a police officer.
But they're giving him less to do.
Much less to do.
Okay.
So he would have been basically pushed off into the corner while the department is being run. See, we have to be
Why
careful
would they do
of
that?
figurehead black people.
Why would they do that?
Figurehead black people.
Okay.
We don't want black people to say, oh, we have a black person. That doesn't mean anything.
Right.
If they cannot exercise the authority, discretion, and exercise the position to a degree where it's of value, what's the point in being there? Just to say that you have a black person there? No, that's not what we need. This is not the 1960s, all right? We need to get beyond the fact of saying, well, we have a black this, we have a black that. If the position is of such an insignificant level, you don't need to put a black, you don't want to be there, you know? So Phil was a precinct commander in the 7-9 in Bed-Stuy. There was the sexton of a church was robbed. Phil and his guys, they went scouring for the guy that robbed the sexton of the church. They found this guy on a rooftop and brought him back. You know, they locked him up, recovered all the stolen goods. When Phil was in the 7-9, he kept an open door policy with the community. As the precinct commander, if you have a problem, come in and tell me. I want to know. That's the kind of man he is. I know his father, his brothers. These are community people. All right. So when he wasn't even interviewed for the position. Bratton said, "Here, I'm giving you this." So, that's a civilian position, and I don't want it.
You were trying to get him out of the spot he was in.
Right. He was chief of the department. Chief of the department is the person who's running the operation on a day-to-day basis.
So why would Bratton want to get rid of the
Well, you'd have
person
to
that
ask
was
William
most
Bratton.
affected?
We've invited him here, but he hasn't come. All right? But they've appointed somebody else this afternoon. I didn't get the information yet. But, you know, Phil said rather than be basically a token in a number two position, he had his time, so he retires. He'd take his pension and go. But
so who takes his place?
Jimmy O'Neill was chief of patrol, who might move up into chief of the department spot. I've known Jimmy O'Neill for 30 years. Matter of fact, he was in Staten Island when we were there for the march. He came over to me to speak to me. Hadn't seen him in a while, but Jimmy will be probably moving up. All the promotions took place today, and we have a number of other blacks that may move up. But there's no point in having a position where it really is of no value. There's no point in being a figurehead just to say you have a black person there.
Like Clarence Thomas.
Especially when you have so much experience. You know, I'm sure she wouldn't want to be the judge of a beauty contest.
Oh, I don't know, Miss America. I might.
You know, having been to law school and done all that she has.
So where you'd like to go?
Wherever I can best serve.
Right.
I
You
understand
think the
that the
criminal
needs.
part would be the best?
I mean, my background lends, as indicated, I'm a prosecutor to criminal defense, criminal work.
I forgot
I've worked
about
with
that.
neighborhood
Tell
defenders.
us about your experience as a prosecutor.
Yes, I served as a prosecutor in the Kings County District Attorney's Office. I've worked with Neighborhood Defender Service in Harlem, so both sides. Before law school, I was a court advocate for the CASES program, the Center for Alternative Sentencing and Educational Services, part of the think tank from the Vera Institute. So very balanced perspective. I've worked in the Corporation Counsel's office on the civil side, specifically in their police unit, special federal litigation. So I have that experience balanced also with my experience in the NAACP. While on the one hand I'm active in litigation in representing officers in the Special Federal Litigation Unit, I'm also involved in the NAACP, where we know what their position is in terms of 105 years advocating for civil rights advocacy, balanced with my work with NAN. So it's a balance, and I think that level of balance keeps me grounded, keeps me impartial, in the ability to render decisions after having heard thoroughly both sides, competently aware of the fact that people do have different opinions. But those opinions grounded both in facts, grounded in law, and grounded in everyday experiences, as you've indicated.
Right.
So that balanced temperament, I've served as a law clerk to an appellate justice, as well as to a Supreme Court judge. So from the adjudication perspective, being aware that notwithstanding my personal views, relying and giving each side an opportunity to present their evidence. That's one of the issues that often comes up in court is someone says, you didn't hear me, or I didn't have an opportunity to present my photographs or present my testimony, or in legal night, we learn that someone may take a little longer to tell their story. They may have to go back to the 60s for you to get a full picture of what really happened, the historical context. So all of those things collectively, to answer directly your question as to where would I feel comfortable serving or where would I like to serve, it's wherever the needs of the court balanced with my experience will allow me to make the greatest impact, the opportunity to adjudicate cases and adjudicate them quickly and effectively and competently in a way that's married to my skills.
Would you recommend that our young folks pursue the legal profession?
Absolutely.
And what are the steps in that process? Because you just don't become an attorney. Could you give our, because we have a lot of people who listen, they listen with their children and they stop us on the street and tell us, you know, we sit the kids down. So give them a blow-by-blow process of going from college to becoming a member of the bar.
I'll take it a lot further than college because I think it starts even earlier than that. When I was an assistant district attorney in the Kings County District Attorney's Office, one of the greatest programs that was there and what attracted me specifically to that borough's DA's office is that the then DA had a program called Legal Lives, where you could be a wonderful trial attorney, you could be a wonderful assistant district attorney, but he required also that you adopt a 5th grade class and teach those students the law. It was a preventative method to keep people, the curriculum was called choices. Things such as, one of the scenarios I remember was that there were 2 people who had gone into a store, which is very common with children today. They have on a backpack, they remove an item from the shelf, place it in the backpack, and then they go to leave the store, but then they change their mind. They're about to put it back. And the question becomes, can they be arrested and charged with larceny? And all the students said, no way. Why? Because they didn't leave the store. And 2, they were changing their minds. But the question was, can you be arrested for that? And the answer, of course, was yes. We had this whole discussion. Everyday activities that may not necessarily give rise to criminal activity, that thought process about the choices that you make and how our law may define your conduct. It starts with even younger ages. Humpty Dumpty, I use nursery rhymes to explain the law to young people, whereas the nursery rhyme, of course, says he fell off the wall. Well, was there a sign that said, do not sit on the wall? All the king's horses and king's men couldn't put them back together again. Was that malpractice? Why couldn't they? We had the best. We had all the kings, you know. So those sort of things, letting you get your mind trained to how an attorney thinks. Going back also, as you know, my background growing up in the church, we have so many wonderful young people. And when I say young, I use that in quotes. Anyone who has not had the opportunities, the access that I may have had, is a young person to me because you're new to it. My mother, just an aside, is tomorrow being hooded for her master's degree at the age of So the sacrifices that she's made.
Oh my goodness.
Sacrifices that everyone has made, a number of people have made in our community, that they don't have degrees behind their names,
that's
but
beautiful.
Their aspirations of seeing their children, a new generation, have those opportunities, gives them such pride. So to now see my mother have an opportunity to fulfill a dream that she's had, it's a prideful moment, very joyful moment. But more directly to your question, it's in the church, the same students who can pronounce such complex names, Meshach, Indigo, who can read the Quran, analyze it, know it, that's law. That's law at work. The principles, there's a program coming up next week about whether or not when Abraham was sacrificing his son, should he have been prosecuted for that? Was that not endangering the welfare of a child? Was that not attempted murder? What was that? Or was that blind faith? So that's being done at one of the synagogues. So actually taking everyday experiences, everyday principles, and thinking about it in a legal context is something that I do, and I have a great passion for that. I teach at the College of New Rochelle, their adult education program, again, people who may not have had the opportunity, career changers, explaining the law to them and explaining how you're not in a law school, but the thought process is the same. But the formal process, of course, requires college. From college, it requires 3 years of law school. And to take just a slight step back, oftentimes people believe they have to major in law in college, major in pre-law. Absolutely not. In fact, the more diverse your background is, say you play a musical instrument, there's a case that now arises and it concerns someone who may be in the music industry. You know better than anyone else copyright provisions, intellectual property provisions. So your experience playing a musical instrument will be so important in your experience as an attorney. But 3 years of law school, and upon completion of law school, you then sit for the bar exam. There are some changes they're thinking about for the bar exam, because currently you have to sit for a bar exam in each state. And of course that limits employment opportunities. You may be admitted in New York, but it doesn't allow you to practice in New Jersey. There's some discussion about a universal bar exam that upon completion of that one exam, you can now practice in other states. There is one other step. You've completed college, you've completed law school, you've passed the bar exam, you have to now complete what's called the character and fitness interview. That's again where the connection between what you've done in your past, someone's now evaluating your moral character for the bar. Remember those low-level offenses that you might have incurred years on, whether it's in family court or criminal court or civil court, those become important. So that process in getting you to be admitted to the bar.
What about expense?
My former attorney used to sit on that panel. She was the president of the Brooklyn Bar years ago.
Oh, great.
And she has said, yes, anybody looking to practice in this county, they will come before me. And she says, I will scrutinize them. You know, she was a wonderful woman. She passed a number of years ago. But I have a nephew who's an attorney here in Manhattan. He's in private practice. But you know, I tell students, if you don't love to read, you know, reading is so critical. You know, if you gain, what you gain in reading and studying can never be taken from you. Your sneakers can be stolen. Your car, I've had my car stolen. I've had my house broken into. But what's in here, no one can take.
That's true.
And reading, as well as math, critical to our existence. And reading, I remember at City College reading the cases. That was pre-law. You know, reading case law, federal cases. But you what you have is the passion. What you have is the passion. And for any child that has a passion to become an attorney, go for it. You know, you're not going to be 15 years old for 15 years. You're going to grow, you're going to progress, and to find your passion and then go with it, it will carry you through life.
And you mentioned a great thing, the reading newspapers also. Whether you agree with their positions or not, underlining those words and then putting them into the legal terms, getting young people or anyone involved in reading all of the newspapers, you have to be current on what's happening, I think also makes you a good attorney, is to know what's happening.
Yeah.
Right.
Not just the case law, because the case law usually evolves out of a scenario that may have been reported in the news.
Right.
So being contemporary and knowing what's going on is also a really good attribute in terms of your representation as well. Being able to relate to other people's experiences that may be completely different from your own.
What about the expense of school? You know, everybody's worrying about student
Oh,
loans
it's
these
expensive.
days. How much money was
It's
expensive?
It's expensive. It is an investment.
Right.
And I
okay.
think the priority being toward that investment.
Okay.
That investment, and then the return. And the return should be that you're investing in something that may not have a monetary return.
Okay.
When you have worked on a case that now allows someone to stay in their home, when you, because you stayed up late night reading, found some footnote in a case somewhere that your adversary may not have read, and when you have that level of passion and also without fear or favor, because you can be passionate to just simply getting the result that you want, but you can be passionate also without fear or favor of going the way in which the law and your investigation and your research has directed you. So that is also important, and it's an investment that may not have monetary returns, but the return of inspiring someone else to now be involved in the law, and again, the return of resolving what may not be beneficial directly to your client, but you may not see the fruits of that until years later, which is called precedent.
Outstanding.
Someone can go back to a case and say, wow, look at that. It didn't apply then. Well, that person didn't reap the direct benefits of it, but because they set the precedent, they wrote it down. They recorded it. That also, the writing part, keeping a record. The one thing in the court that oftentimes people forget that's the most important person in the room is the court reporter. If he or she didn't take it down, it didn't happen.
Right.
It's what they heard and what they recorded. And even going back to, we started with the 60s, that's our favorite starting point here tonight, is they recorded their history. You began with the opening scene. Had not Malcolm X written down his experiences, had not Dr. King taken advantage of toilet
Birmingham
paper,
letters,
if you will,
yes.
to write
Birmingham
letters
jail,
from a
right.
jail,
Yeah.
we wouldn't have it.
Right.
There would be no recorded written record. So we can go back and see a Lenox Avenue and know Malcolm X Boulevard and why it is that, because someone took the time to write it down. I had mentioned in my own sort of journey toward the bench, my parents had given to me on my 9th birthday. Back then, it's called a diary. So you write down, I like this boy, and you write down all these things. And you record things for purposes really of hiding it. So you try to find a secret hiding spot and a lock, so no one is ever to see your secret thoughts. And then when I got older, it became a journal. It's no longer a diary, it's a journal, you know. But I never understood why, you know, I was sort of writing these things, and I still have that 9-year-old diary. My mother told me it was to preserve so that when someone else, whoever that someone else is, who may come up behind you and they ask the question, how do you become an attorney? How did you do it? You can go to the printed word, see my ups and my downs, ins and outs, experiences, because I will never be able to walk that path again. And when I tell the story, it may be tailored and colored with my now experiences. Oh, it was easy. Oh, it was great. No, the actual word
Day by
is there.
day.
It's actually there and it's recorded. So that's a really important piece to it.
Yeah, I had found the letters that my parents wrote to each other during the Second World War. And I found out how they initially met.
Ooh, do tell.
In the letters, you know. And it was very moving, you know, to journal, to be able to go back and read, and our people, we have a great oral history. but to write it down, as in the court, the empirical data, the empirical information. And we said on the job, if there's no complainant, there's no crime. If it's not on paper, it doesn't exist. And this is the way the system operates. You know, until it's put on paper, it doesn't exist.
Right.
And our folks need to understand how that system works. And having the legal night enables them to start picking up those bits and pieces. When John White was on trial in Suffolk County, I said to one of his attorneys, I said, I'm analyzing him as he's cross-examining a guy, and I'm saying to myself, he's cross-examining him the same way I watched Alton Maddox cross-examine Pagonis. And I worked for Alton for 8 months up there. And when I went up to him later, he said, Alton was one of my teachers. So Alton poured into this man so that he, 15 years later, or more, could defend John White. And we know his sentence was commuted by the governor. But it was an excellent presentation to see how he literally took a witness apart on the stand.
Well, I'm sure your students are raving about your accomplishment there.
They're
Being a
excited.
judge.
They're excited.
And we're running a little bit out of time, but anything you want us to know about what we didn't hear? Or?
Well, I think shows like this are so important.
Thank you.
It allows for that exchange that you oftentimes don't have
Okay.
outside of our most intimate settings. It's a forum by which the community can be heard and get access, an opportunity to fully vet, sometimes even for the first time, hearing voices that they have not heard. I thank you, both of you, for having shows such as this. I grew up watching Like It Is and Positively Black, reading the Big Red newspaper.
Myrtle Avenue.
And for people to see faces of people of color, hearing their voices on the radio, hearing them engage in this intellectual exchange is something that someone who listening or watching can be inspired and say, I want to do that. In other words, I want to be at the table for purposes of engaging in that dialogue. I too want to feed from and drink from that well of discussion. I think it's so inspiring, and I thank you both for having me here today.
Well, again, thank you for coming to the Gilchrist Experience. Our guest today, Judge Michelle Sweeney. And thank you for coming. The God in me loves the God in you. Take care. Power to the people.